Hey everyone, Gearhead Tom here. Decided I'd like to do a review on my tractor. I know there's other videos I've posted of this tractor, of my ownership of, I think I've owned it now 2 years now. Yeah, I decided, like, you know, maybe it's time to do a review on it. Someone else out there might be interested in the same exact tractor, and I can go through a few things and see if it's the right tractor for them. As you see it, this is how I bought it from the dealership, with the bucket, loader, and the box blade. I have some other attachments too, and I'll get to that later. But tires are the R4s industrial tread. I like them. They're I mean, I've been in, you can kind of see there's a little bit of mud on them now. I mean, the ag tires would probably be best for the mud or some little more gnarly stuff, but for here out on my property, they do a pretty decent job not tearing everything up, and they still bite pretty well. So I do recommend the treads, and I do like it's kind of the main thing why I liked the MX was the big fat front tire. I love the big fat front tire on the MX. I just think it looks so much better than the L series and that little front skinny tire. So it's probably one of the main reasons why I fell in love with the MX. So coming around here on the front, bucket is, I believe, 72 inches. It's been a good bucket, no issues, digs really well. I would say, besides this, my grapple is probably the #1 thing I keep on this tractor at all times. And then occasionally I have this on here, but normally the grapple doesn't come off for me during the summer, especially when I'm trying to clean up trees and stuff around the property. What other things here? The other thing too to note is also I did get the third function right away from the dealership. I would recommend this. This is nice and clean setup, very nicely well built. So if it's something you're considering when you're ready to buy this tractor, I would just say go ahead and spend the extra money and get it done with, and get the third function on there, so that way you can run a grapple later on if you don't decide to purchase one right away. The bucket. All right, so the box blade. Box blade. This is the BB 3584. At first, when I bought this, I was kind of looking at the 25 series, and the dealership, the salesman at the dealership talked me into buying this one instead. I think I bought this right around the prime COVID time, so getting the 2500 was just, the lead time on it was ridiculous, and it was actually faster to get one of these. So I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it, I'll try it out. I tell you what, at the time I got the tractor first, obviously, and the bucket and the loader, but they didn't have this just right away, so the lead time was a little better on this one versus 25. So that's, like I said, I went with a 35. But man, when they showed up with this, I'll admit to you, I was quite intimidated by how big it was. I was a little worried about how big this thing is. I was kind of worried it was gonna be too much for my tractor, and I was gonna be disappointed. I will tell you, that's a complete opposite. I absolutely love this box blade. The thing I thought was gonna be the worst thing about this is the best. One is it's extremely heavy. This is 800 some pounds right here. So it's perfect for ballast weight when you're picking up something heavy up front. And also the biggest thing is it will dig and it will rip up dirt. So that weight really helps a lot when you need to go into virgin ground, like my driveway is. I have a very long driveway, and it's crushed concrete, and that stuff will pack rock hard. And when I get potholes and stuff like that develop throughout the year, I need to re-break it up and resurface it, and this thing does a great job of just breaking through that hard ground and resurfacing the driveway. So if you're thinking about a tractor this size, recommend this box blade for sure. PTO, I haven't used it. I mean, I think even the cover is still on the PTO shaft. Been doing a lot more dirt work with this tractor more than anything. I will say I think a rototiller is in my future. That'll probably actually be my next implement. I'd like to get a rototiller to help out some stuff with my dad at his place, and then make some food plots here for deer season. Coming around here in the cab, it's pretty much a basic cab. It's nice. I do wish the steering wheel was able to tilt. You don't have any movement on this tractor because the MX is kind of their base series compared to the L and the LX series there. So I do wish this telescopes a little more, or I'm sorry, telescopes, not only telescopes but also tilts as well, but it is what it is. Coming around, oh, the one thing that bothers me a lot is how the manufacturers don't give you anything to tie off with when you're trying to put these on a trailer. I highly recommend these, what is it, 511 design, these tow hooks right here. So they look like they recently had some for the back, so I'm going to get those, but right now I have the fronts. Those are awesome. Grab onto it right with a chain, have a nice anchor point, and I can tie this thing down right to the trailer and feel confident that it's tied down well. The back ones, like I said, I don't have them yet, but I believe they'll tie in right here. So I'll get those rears there, and so that way I have the rear there as well to tie this thing down. All right, what are the things I've done that I'm not too proud of? You know, when I first bought this thing, I was like, I'm gonna baby this thing, and you know, paid a lot of money for it, but over time you just start kind of using it as a tool, and when you get into the job you kind of forget, kind of lose track of what you're doing, and starting to try to really muscle things around, and things happen. The first thing that broke is I actually had a level, it's right over here. I had a level indicator here at one time where it has that little steel bar that comes up, you know, and tells how your, you know, tells if your front loader is level or not. Well, a tree branch got in between that and literally ripped it right off like it was nothing. So that was kind of disappointing. So that's damaged. So I ended up just taking that off and getting rid of it. Maybe I'll get it, maybe get another one another day, but right now I'm just running without it. Oh, and also I did, when I got my third function, I did upgrade to the skid steer style couplers. So if you're thinking about the third function switch, I highly recommend going to the skid steer style coupler. Anyway, the other thing I'm not too proud of is I dented in my my hood right here. I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up on the camera, but what happened is I was I think I was trying to rip out a stump and with the grapple, and when the roots dislodged from the ground, came up, and of course that's the other negative thing about these tractors. You can't see really well up at your front end very well. You can't really see up at your nose and see what's going on. It's kind of a big negative with tractors, but a root came up and hit my hood, dented it in really well, really good. And I'll post another video showing how I repaired that, but long story short, bought some Kubota paint, popped it out by hand, sanded it down, and then just spray and just put some of that Kubota paint on. It actually looks pretty dang good for considering what it looked like. So it turned out okay. I'm good with it. So that's one thing that kind of sucks that happened, but it's one of those things that happens when you use these as a tool, you know. This is my workhorse, so comes in the nature. This tire has multiple plugs in it, and the problem with this property when I bought it, the previous owners before me were not very clean people. They just left junk all around the property, and it's like they just tore down decks and just left all the wood out in the middle of the field out there in the back of my yard. So I'm constantly finding things while I'm adventuring in my backyard, and happened to have a piece of wood with nails sticking up and started piercing my tire without me even knowing it on one of the trails I built. So that's nice. That tire has a bunch of plugs in it. So one of those things that happens when you use it, but it is what it is. It does seem to hold air, so we'll run with it. Other than that, I think that's it for, yeah, I think that's pretty much my damage report on this. So all in all, this is a great tractor. I love it. If you're thinking about getting one of these, you're not going to be disappointed. It's got a ton of power. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I think people may think are getting something too big. You know, maybe this is too big for them. I love the size. I'm glad I didn't go smaller. I listened to what my old man said, and just try to get as big as you can. And I think this is that perfect size where it's a large tractor, but it's not ginormous, and you know, it's not ginormous, you know, for my property. So and then going down the trails, going down tight trails. So I think it's the perfect size. So if you're thinking about going, if you're a little intimidated going this big and you think you need to go smaller, I would reconsider that and go and keep, you know, take another look at this tractor, because weight is everything when it comes to doing work. It's not so much the horsepower. I mean, you obviously need the horsepower, but it's the weight. And if you don't have the weight, all your tires are going to do is just sit there and spin when you're trying to push something or pick something up. So consider that when you're deciding the size of your tractor. Yeah, I think the only other thing I had to really think on was if I wanted to get a cab on this tractor. You know, maybe my older self down the road will probably wish I bought a cab. At the time, it was like over $10,000 option, right? So it definitely deterred me from wanting to get a cab. Plus, being out in the woods, I was kind of not too excited about having trees and whatnot and random branches smacking the cab. So, you know, I do live here in a colder climate, so you know, we do have some pretty nasty winters sometimes. So that'll be the only regret why I didn't get a cab. Our summers are usually pretty decent here, so the heat's not too bad. But yeah, I'll probably kick myself later on not getting a cab, but as of right now, it works. Any other benefit? I think the other benefit not having the cab is I can lower the ROPS and be able to sneak into my garage. My garage is kind of got a lower height door than typical, so I can, if I need to park it in the garage, I can do that pretty easily with this. Yeah, the only other gripe I would say is I mean, I've gotten used to it, but I do think that's one thing John Deere might be a little superior at, is the foot pedal. I can take it or leave it, having to use your heel, you know, to go backwards. It actually was a little goofy for me at first. Now I'm obviously that, you know, now that I've been driving it long enough, or using it long enough, I've gotten used to it. But I do think the John Deere, where it has the two pedals side to side, I think it'd be a lot quicker just to move your foot side to side for going front and rear versus having to tilt your foot back. But like I said, that's something I've gotten used to. It's not a huge deal, but that's something to consider. But not the end of the world. This tractor has already had its first 50-hour change, so it's got the new filters, oil change, obviously, of course. Now, I will say these filters are quite pricey, so if you haven't experienced buying some of those yet, it'll be a little bit of a sticker shock. But I will say these filters, they're built pretty stout. They're actually kind of decently heavy, so they're built for the high pressure. So there's a reason why they're a little pricey. But just don't be surprised by the sticker when it comes time to doing that. Luckily, I think you only need to change those out every couple hundred hours. So but yeah, other than that, this has been a great tractor. Leave your comments down below if you have any other questions on this tractor. I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah, like I said, if it's any other implement, you need to, if you're considering a grapple, if you're thinking a grapple, do it. It's by far my most favorite, most useful implement that I use here on my property. But I have a lot of trees, so, and I got a lot of old mature trees too, so that helps me out a lot to clean my yard up. If you think you have a use for a grapple, it's worth to spend the extra $1 to get one. I mean, there's a lot of guys that get, you know, pallet forks, go the cheaper option and use pallet forks, but man, nothing beats being able to just go up there and grab something like a hand and pick it up. So, but yeah, if you got any questions, just please leave a comment down below, and I'll answer them as best I can. All right, thank you.